Garrett County Commissioner Jim Raley is with us now. Good morning, Commissioner. How you doing?
Good morning, Paul. I'm great this morning.
Okay. Well, it looks like the General Assembly has left you with a bit of a mess as far as the budget goes. How do you proceed from here?
Well, obviously, no matter what the legislature does now, it's too little too late because, we have to get a budget in place. The school system has to make decisions. So even if they went back into session in early May, it's not going to help us in any way because we would certainly have no way of knowing what the outcome of that may be. And our decisions, certainly the school system's decisions, would have to be made before that time.
What would happen if they would come up with the $1.2 million in additional funding for the school budget? I guess they would send it down the road, whether you're expecting it or not. What would that do? More chaos?
Well, I mean, it obviously, means that we would have to make a decision in advance of that, of what to do, because the school system has to make their decision, I believe, if I'm recalling correctly, by the end of April, and you can talk to Ms. Wagner and the board members about that, but that's my recollection. So the commissioners would ultimately, the only other way out of it to avoid the closing of schools then would be for the commissioners to have to fund that money with speculative nature of whether that money would come back to us or not from the state, and we don't know that.
Well, in addition to that, the disparity grant is also tied up in this mess, isn't it?
That's correct.
And
yes, absolutely.
What kind of impact will that have on the budget here that you're working on?
Well, if I recall correctly, it's another 10% cut to the disparity grant. So everything. The chart that I looked at shows $1.1 million in cuts, and I'm assuming that that's irregardless of the cuts that we already would face because of the loss of revenue and education funding. I mean, I'm just looking at the chart that was shared on the state's website of the doomsday budget impacts.
What kind of impact is this going to have on the county budget with regard to programs that are out there that may be in place now but may not be affordable if you don't get the extra money coming down the line from the state?
Well, I think that's really what we have to regroup now and really relook and rethink, what it is that, we're going to do in the future. And I know we are going to have next Tuesday night, we have our afternoon into evening meeting, and I do know that we are going to put the budget on as one of the items that we're going to discuss, at least initially in regards to the impacts that this could have in regards to a tax increase. A potential tax increase, I must say.
Does this smack of politics with regard to perhaps the higher echelon of government trying to create screams and wails in order to do what they want to do all along?
Well, it obviously concerns me, and I'm extremely frustrated today with the fact that now we want to call a special session. That special session costs the system, the taxpayers of Maryland, a significant amount of money, even though not in necessarily compensation, but certainly in room and board and travel and those kinds of things that the legislators are entitled to. And it just seems to me that what we do is we take the most serious matter and we make it second to everything else that we want to worry about. And we use the budget as our jockeying to try to pass other pieces of legislation. And that's the part that frustrates me. Their job should be to get a budget and to get a budget in place. And it shouldn't be about, well, give me a vote on this and then I'll give you a vote on that and something. And then all of a sudden it gets down to the wire. We're on the 90th day and we can't complete our work. So I actually know that you follow me a little bit, and my frustration day saying maybe we need to let the chips fall where the chips fall. And I know there's a lot at stake in that, but there's a lot at stake for some of the big subdivisions too. I mean, some of the big subdivisions, Baltimore City, Prince George's County, Montgomery County, they will lose very, very significant amounts of money in the doomsday budget.
As I look at that scenario, and obviously you're in touch with county leaders from across the state, do you guys plan a unified effort to kind of say, hey, wait, you guys didn't do your job?
Well, I'm hoping for that. I obviously think most of the players and most of the organizations are hoping that they go back to the table because they know that there's a lot more at stake than just, the little bit of funding maybe for their county. So I think that's probably going to be, I'm probably going to be in the minority of saying that I think maybe we should just, forego another session and say we'll come back in January and maybe you guys will be serious about doing your jobs next year.
Yeah, ultimately, though, people hold you responsible, don't they? Even though you had little to do with this,
well,
if
absolutely,
nothing.
And they'll hold our local our Annapolis delegation accountable also. And I mean, I can tell you that Senator Edwards and Delegate Bites will work tirelessly, and probably even in some cases voted for budgets that many of their Republican colleagues wouldn't have voted for, and those kinds of things, because they knew how important it was to Garrett County and to Allegheny County, and in George's case Washington County, which he represents as well. So there's a whole lot at stake, and I don't know why they view their job the way they view their job.
It's kind of amazing that it's come down to this. Senator Edwards told me that this is the worst session that he's seen in the last 30 years that he's been involved in the legislature, and obviously I don't think that's an overstatement, and you have to put up with it. I have some empathy there, certainly from a distance, for those who have to deal with this, and I guess as a county commissioner now, you really have to feel for Sue Wagner and the other former board members that were your colleagues there at the Board of Education with what they have to do.
I do, because they obviously rely on everybody else for their funding. So they have to make decisions about operating the school system based on the county commissioners and, the funding of the state and everything like that. And I mean, I think when you go as far as we did, I think that while there were bumps along the road, I think that most of us were feeling very comfortable that the legislature would do the right thing by the state of Maryland, by the citizens of Maryland, and I don't know what game playing took place in those last hours, but it certainly appears there was some.
Well, County Commissioner Jim Raley, I know you've been traveling back and forth to Annapolis as well for most of the last 3 going on 4 months. And that all appears to be a bit fruitless now, or a waste of time, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I'm not sure I'm going to waste the gas next time.
Yeah, I don't know if you could afford it, given what the budget constraints are anyhow.
No, obviously, Paul, we'll keep fighting. We'll keep plugging away. This is, this is certainly a big letdown. And, it's not just Garrett County that's been let down. The whole state of Maryland's been let down. And as I say, I believe that some folks need to be sent a loud and clear message. And, again, you and I don't know the day-to-day ins and outs of what's going on down there and why a budget did not come forward. But certainly it's speculative that there were some reasons behind all of this, and I'm not sure what those reasons are.